Tim Frandy, you work here at in the British Columbia University of British Columbia.
Yes.
I met your students, and they're really cool students. They seem to know a lot about Nordic countries and Sami people and everything.
Well, yeah, we try our best. I think it's one of the few programs where Sami are a distinct and strong core of the program's identity. But that's only because we're so very small, and that's what I love doing. Yes.
Amazing. So, can you tell a little bit about why there are so many Samis in this area, descendants of the Sami people? Why are there so many Samis here?
Well, I've been part of the Sami American, Sami Canadian community for many years, and the history really isn't written down in too many places, but a lot of Sami people who are living in the border regions of Sápmi, along the coasts of Norway, a lot of South Sami, some of the southernmost, the old forest Sami communities in the Finnish side, or in Sweden too. The people who had more contact with other Nordic peoples tended to escape a little bit more. And nobody really knows exactly why they left. I suppose things were pretty bad. You're facing a lot of daily pressures to assimilate, to abandon your culture, and a lot of people left for various reasons. They traveled outward, they went to North America, they kind of hid their identity in lots of cases by just pretending that they're Norwegian or Swedish or Finnish. Many of the people were mixed too, right? If you've got mixed families, you can choose your identity a little bit better, and people don't recognize if you're speaking with a little bit of an accent, quite as kind. In North America too, but some of these ideas still lingered, right? Anyone who had darker features was often coded as they're called Black Finns or Black Norwegians, and it was code word that was used in North America to say Sami. Yeah, for real. It's a very common phrase here, but I know it doesn't exist over in Sápmi or in Scandinavia.
Were they put in the same category as the Africans, or since they were black?
Well, I wouldn't say quite the same category as like Africans or African Americans, but they were looked down upon within. There was a hierarchy of Nordics too, and you can see this like even in like old logging camps. The higher up on the hierarchy you were, the better jobs you had, the better places you'd have to sleep in the camps. But the people who were lowest were Finns and then Sami and then native people. The coldest places in the cabins, worst food, eat last, lowest paying jobs. So, I think in some ways that the relationships between all those lower end groups on the hierarchy kind of happened in North America.
So when they used the word black, what would that suggest?
It's sort of a racialization factor because this is the early to mid 20th century, and so having lighter features, blonde hair, blue eyes was seen as more desirable. And so anyone who happens to be from a Nordic country, whether you're Sami or just happen to have dark hair, was racialized in that way and seen as somehow less, or even probably in many cases non-Sami who had dark features were called Black Norwegian to say you're Sami as a way to put them down lower on the hierarchy. And many of the families who came, because there was shame associated with being Sami, many families didn't talk about it. Many families denied it and refused it. I've heard stories from people I know who, they construct elaborate fantasies that our people came from, we weren't Sami, we were just from Arctic Norway, and we were definitely Jewish. And of course, there were people found out when they did their genealogy, oh, this is probably not actually the case, because they're all from Sami families, right? I've heard other stories of people who, one story, Tom Dubois wrote about this, but it was one of his students in a class, so I feel I can share it because it's in print now. They were going home for a Thanksgiving break in November, and he sent the students home, and he said, he was teaching a Sami culture class, and he told them, I want you to go home, and when people say, what are you doing at the university, when your grandparents say that, you say, I'm taking a class on Sami culture, and I love it. You know, be proud of that. And so there was this one student who did this, and grandfather asked, what are you learning at the university? I'm learning about Sami culture. And the grandfather got this look on his face, very stern and withdrawn suddenly. And she knew something was wrong. And then the next day, he called her and said, I've got something to show you. And he walked her down into the basement. Far corner of the basement, there was a trunk. He opened up the trunk. He pulled out a gakti. Okay. And he said, I promised myself I would never share this with anyone. But what you said yesterday made me feel like it was important and that I didn't have to hide this anymore.
Oh, wow.
So there's many, many experiences like that. Most are not that dramatic, but people come to learn, and then they start understanding, wondering why did Grandma, why did Grandpa stop talking about this? Why did they forget? What are the pressures of colonization that people face when they choose to abandon their family, their culture, their history? And that's part of colonization too, even if it looks a little bit different from people who stayed. Yeah. But that's more the story of the lower 48, this mixed migration into areas of the U.S. and Canada amidst other Nordic settlement. So in Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, in parts of northern Ontario. And lots of those people jumped over here to the Pacific Northwest into the Seattle area. But there's the Alaskan Sami story is quite a bit different.
Yeah. That's a adventurous story.
Yeah, yeah.
Incredible story.
Yeah, and so there were, in the late 1800s, Yupik, Inuit, people were really struggling at the time because there was a heavy Russian hunting of caribou and heavy whaling, and the environment was very stretched thin, and there was a man by the name of Sheldon Jackson. I think at the time he was working for the U.S. Department of the Interior, and he came up with the idea, which was complicated, to help Inuit hunters by teaching reindeer herding. It's sort of one of these masked things where it's kind of trying to help a very real problem, but also it was very paternalistic and rooted in ideas of racial biology and such that were dominant at the time, because he thought he could advance hunter and gathering people up the chain of social and cultural evolution very gradually, because first you're hunting and gathering, then you're pastoralists, then you're farmers, then you're industrialists, and then you're white men or whatever. Yeah. And so first he brought over a number of Chukchi reindeer herders from easternmost Siberia, with the idea that these reindeer herders could help Inuit to learn these arts. As I've been told, the story goes that Inuit and Chukchi have lived in close proximity to each other for thousands of years, and they don't always get along. And so that partnership did not work out very well. But this guy, Sheldon Jackson, then had heard a little bit about Sami people and reindeer herding. And so he enlisted the help of Rasmus Bay Anderson, who was the founder of the Department of Scandinavian Studies at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, where I got my PhD.
Oh.
His portrait, his dour Norwegian-looking portrait, was like in our little library room. And he enlisted his help because he's like, well, the professor of Norwegian-American professor. He's from Norway. And he was able to reach out to someone locally who was from Finnmark, if I recall. And I'm blanking on his name at the moment. This other helper then went into the interior to Kautokeino and started recruiting families. This is about in the 1890s. And he successfully recruited families to go on this wild adventure. And so the first trip, there were two boats that came. The first wave was fewer number of families, and they went by boat to New York. Then they went by train across the country, hitting major stopping points like Chicago. I think they've stopped in Madison. I know Minneapolis, then Seattle, and then went northward from there to Alaska. And the reindeer, they didn't have reindeer with them at the time, but there were already reindeer in the area from the Chukchi communities, and they sort of overtook operations there. It went pretty well. Sami and Inuit got along really well. There was quickly a lot of intermarriage. There's some really interesting material culture that happened. I've seen like photos of footwear that have some Sami features, but then some Inuit features too on them. And there were other innovations that had to happen because the snow in Alaska is a little bit different from the snow in Sápmi. So like the Geras, the sledge, it didn't work right in those snow conditions. So they modified, they had to pull heavy loads. They had to pull a lot of materials. This is the reason. So they had to adapt like the sleds that are used further east. And so it completely changed the culture. And there's lots of families still around who are mixed from this time between they're part Inuit, part Sami, who went through this reindeer herding experience and have lived in the area for generations. It was going really well, and so this Sheldon Jackson decided that he would create a whole Sami colony in Alaska.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. This is uncomfortable, isn't it? It's very uncomfortable.
It's unbelievable story. So
Yeah.
He wanted to make this colony.
He wanted to make a colony, so he went back, or he sent people to go back and recruit more. There's whole roles. I've got it in the book someplace of the specific families that are recruited.
Yeah.
I remember there's some Bonko. There's Tornensis. There's Sara. Several of the big family names. A lot of them. Everybody knows the Binder family, but I don't remember which line they come from because that's not a Sami name. But a huge family. They ended up with the last name Binder over there, up there, and so one lives in Vancouver area now. And I was at the Sami Film Institute last summer, and people were like, "Oh, do you know Lloyd Binder? He's my cousin." And then just last weekend, I met someone from the Yukon, and she's like, "Oh, do you know Lloyd Binder?" I'm like, "Of course I know Lloyd Binder. Everybody in the world knows the Binder family." And anyway, so the second group, they wanted more Sami reindeer, and to do that, they had a very specific plan to do so. They had to transport the reindeer across the continent by rails. And this was very difficult because you not only had to have your reindeer endure this very stressful boat journey, but then on train you had to have the right foods because there's not adequate foods. This is very stressful for the reindeer. A lot of them did get sick, on the route, and things were going well, and they were stopping in these cities and, getting out in major cities and bringing the reindeer to parks, and it became quite a tourist spectacle because people were coming out to see the reindeer and see Sami folks. And as they went across the country, things had started to go badly. Sheldon Jackson's department, between the two trips, had been his employment was now under the U.S. Department of War, and so because of some administrative shifts, and he ended up having to. He was subject to the authority of the Department of War. So the boat that they were supposed to pick up the Sami herders in Seattle, there was a war that broke out, and the boat was locked. They were not allowed to transport the Sami herders. And so what happened was that the reindeer were stuck in Seattle for, I believe it was 10 days.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And they didn't have food for 10 extra days for the trip. So the reindeer were grazing on grasses. They put them all in a park that's now on kind of the north side of Seattle. And tens of thousands of people came out to see the reindeer. And people apparently, I'm not from the Seattle area, people talked about this for almost 100 years when the reindeer came.
Yeah.
And eventually 10 days later, they were able to get, I believe it was a different boat to bring them up to Alaska. But those 10 days made a catastrophic difference in the trip. So when they were going up, instead of, they arrived, like 2 weeks too late, which meant the snow conditions were not quite right for transport, because they arrived at harbor, and then many of those reindeer were supposed to go several hundred kilometers north to a new colony site that Sheldon Jackson wanted to establish. And the ice wasn't safe to cross on lakes and rivers. The terrain is difficult. It's incredibly mountainous. And then it started becoming spring, and they had to abandon most of their supplies to travel north. And I think the number off the top of my head is that 75% of the reindeer died going north.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then, there were a couple different colonies. That one was kind of on the Alaskan-Canadian border, if I recall. And then there was another one on the Seward Peninsula, which is kind of on the western side of Alaska. And that station was doing a little bit better. Things were going, it very hard. It was a difficult journey, but things were getting sort of reestablished. And then the story gets incredibly strange.
It takes another turn.
Yes.
Okay.
Because the group that is on the Alaskan-Canada border especially, this is the time of the gold rush. Suddenly gold is discovered in Alaska. And I believe the Klondike Valley, which becomes sort of this epicenter of the gold rush. There's not much infrastructure there. There's Sami folks, there's indigenous folks from there, and then all of a sudden 30,000 gold prospectors show up. They're going in the mountains. I mean, there's not stores, there's not roads, there's not infrastructure for these people, and they're going in the mountains looking for gold to become rich. And winter comes fast and hard in the mountains in Alaska. And people started getting stuck. And people started needing rescue. Mm. Well, one of the projects that Sami had been working on in Alaska is I don't know how to call it, reindeer brigades to deliver mail and supplies.
Oh, okay.
This was actually much more profitable than actually herding, because the U.S. government was kind of developing the infrastructure for Alaska, and supplies needed to go into villages and communities, and mail needed to go back and forth. And horses don't do well in deep snow, but reindeer do.
Yeah.
So the reindeer were delivering all this mail and all these parcels, and then they started rescuing gold miners who were trapped. And these eventually these routes become trails. I'm sure some of the trails were there long before, but then these trails eventually turn into like the Alaskan highway system. But there's more and more like outside economic interest in Alaska at this time. And in the town of Nome, back on the west coast, there was a family called the Lomen, Lomen, I think. And it was a family who came up from Minneapolis with the idea that they would like to become rich by dominating the Alaskan economy.
Okay.
And they, in Nome, I think one of the family members owned the bank, another was the mayor, another was the newspaper owner. Like, they ran the city.
Oh, wow.
And they decided that they would really strike it rich. Some were gold prospectors, but one of their business ventures was to monopolize reindeer herding in Alaska. Yeah.
Okay.
And so what they started doing, reindeer herding you don't make a lot of money reindeer herding, but they decided they could do it in volume. The reindeers are starting to multiply. They're really growing incredibly fast in numbers. What had started as a few hundred reindeer by 1925 or so, you're talking tens of thousands of reindeer suddenly in the area. And they started buying up people's reindeer. Buy 1,000 here, buy 5,000 reindeer here, buy 10,000 reindeer. And so they start accumulating more and more wealth. And a lot of local people are getting out of the reindeer herding business at the time. And they're being bought up by this corporation. But they had a problem. And the problem was that they didn't know how to market. They didn't have a market for the reindeer meat.
Oh.
Alaska's very small. There's not a lot of people. And people in the U.S. don't know of the joys of eating reindeer.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so what they decided to do, this is again in the 1920s, I'd have to look up the exact year, but what had suddenly become very popular in the U.S. is Santa Claus.
Yeah.
And so Christmas parades are starting to become popular. The first one that I've been able to find was in 1906 in Toronto. And you can see quite clearly that there is a Santa-like figure who is being pulled by horses. And so reindeer and Christmas weren't always very closely associated. The earliest, I think it's about 1826, if I recall. There's an image in a children's book about Christmas where there's a Santa figure being pulled by a reindeer, but these are not developed in the popular imagination. But then the next year, the poem "'Twas the Night Before Christmas" is published, and that's got the Santa being pulled by 8 reindeer. Did you know this poem?
Oh.
It was.
Yeah, I've heard about the poem.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you can say more about it then.
Oh, I wish I could. But it's very popular in the Anglophone world, and it's often said around Christmas. It's "'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse." Then Santa appears. What before my wondrous eye should appear? Then Santa, his sleigh, and 8 reindeer. Then they all have names on Dasher and Dancer and Donner and Blitzen and Comet and Cupid and Donner and Blitzen.
Oh wow! And
this is how much it's ingrained in my memory. I don't even know.
But this was in the 1820.
I believe this was in the 1820s or 1830s.
Okay.
And then this was the first. This popularizes the idea that Santa has reindeer. in the 1860s, Santa still does not look like Santa. It's sort of a Father Christmas, St. Nicholas like hybrid thing. Santa does not have a visual language yet. It doesn't have the red costume, the fur trim, the big belt, the hat. But what actually creates that image was the cartoons of Thomas Nast during the U.S. Civil War. And he wrote for Harper's Weekly magazine, which was one of the most popular magazines. And he created images of a Santa-like figure during the American Civil War as, I think the Smithsonian magazine described it as Union propaganda. And if you look carefully, you can see the leader of the Confederacy of the South, Jefferson Davis, in these images. But he had stars, and Santa was wearing stars and stripes. He had the sort of the hat, and there were often reindeer in the background. But what, so this relationship between Santa and reindeer is just forming. But this Lohman company, they wanted to capitalize on this because people knew that their Santa was associated with reindeer, and they thought, we're going to bring Sami herders down from Alaska. We're going to have parades in every city, every major U.S. city with reindeer, with real reindeer. And so Seattle, Minneapolis, Philadelphia, Boston, Chicago, I think that all these places did these parades with Sami herders wearing gakti, traditional clothing, with reindeer right next to Santa.
Oh.
Yeah.
In all the cities.
Yeah, in like a couple dozen, I think, maybe 20 major cities. And so all over the place, in these major cities, people are seeing Sami with reindeer, with Santa. Not too long after that, Santa is kind of an ambiguous figure in the 1800s. I think sometimes Santa is described as a jolly old elf. But only a couple decades after these parades, I mean, these were quite big deals. There was a Norwegian explorer, Amundsen, Roald.
Yeah.
There was one parade, I think it was in Philadelphia, where there was a rival meat company trying to sell elk meat, not Scandinavian elk, but the Wapiti elk, they're called sometimes, of North America. And he had Santa, this rival company had Santa being pulled by elk.
Oh.
The North American elk. And then the next day, the Lohman Company had their parade, and they cashed in a favor and got famous celebrity explorer Roald Amundsen to come to the parade and loudly declare, those deer you saw yesterday are not reindeer. Those are elk. These are real reindeer. And then they stopped doing parades with elk. The rival company crushed their company. But anyway, just a couple decades after that, you start seeing images of Santa having elf helpers, and they've got the shoes with the curled toes. Yeah. They're close to reindeer. I think the first reference I've been able to find is the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer cartoon, which I believe appeared in 1962.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And in the meantime, the image of Santa was sort of cemented in popular imagination with the cartoons of a Finnish-American artist, like a Swedish-Finnish-American artist named Sundblom, Håkan Sundblom, if I'm remembering right. Coca-Cola commissioned him to create the obese Santa with the image that's very familiar. And that happens in the 1930s.
Okay.
And and so all these images sort of kind of congeal within a few decades of each other. And a lot of times I see friends say, it feels like there's something wrong when I see elves and Santa and reindeer together. Like, well, yeah, there's kind of a strange history that goes back. But anyway, about the Alaskan Sami population, they didn't have the shame about their identity that other people did. Eventually, the U.S. government made it illegal for anyone who's not indigenous to North America to own reindeer. So any Sami who are Sami and not intermarried, they lost all their reindeer herds.
Oh.
A lot of them ended up in the Seattle area, like especially around Paulsbo.
Yeah.
Some are still up in Alaska today. There's many families up there still. But
So they had to find something else to do, like fishing, or I know there's a lot of fishing also in Seattle.
yeah, a lot of them ended up working in fishing. Some that stayed in Alaska, they tried gold for a while, or probably worked in the woods, and
Yeah.
just you make do as you have to when you're in a different place.
Like forestry or.
Some families went back. Oh, another one of the Alaskan Sami stories is, you probably don't know this. Do you know the Iditarod race?
I've talked to. Yeah, I know about it. Yeah, I've talked to someone there.
Yeah.
Can't remember. He won the Iditarod a few times. I met him in Alta when he was joining Finnmarkslöpet, but I'm so bad at names.
Oh, it's okay. Yeah.
He wrote a book about it also.
Was it the Mackey? Was his last name? No.
Oh.
He run a bunch of times, but.
Maybe it was. No, I don't think it was.
Well,
but anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, it was originally like a medicine run from one community to another to deliver some medicine, and the lead dog of this very first race, that inspired what's now the competition. The lead's dog name was Balto.
Yeah.
And he was named after one of the Alaskan Sami who'd been very important up there. And, the dog is, I think there's been Disney movies about the dog even. And
yeah, there are movies about Balto the dog.
Yeah.
That's a hero story about the dog.
Yeah. And I'm blanking on the first, I want to say Samuel, but I could be wrong on his first name.
But that's the beginning of Iditarod.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. The lead dog was named after a Sami reindeer herder.
Yeah. Amazing.
Anyway.
Cool. Did you have any pictures?
Yeah, I do. I teach a little bit about this, and I'm sure that I'm messed up some of the details, but I can show you a few of the images that. Let's see. You don't need to see any of this. This is all boring.
Okay.
Oh, so here's from the lower 48 states. I don't recognize, this is in 96, one of the first gatherings. There's a few contested dates. This is Arden Johnson here. I should have his name written down.
He seems like Hatta or something.
Yeah.
Did he also live here? Did
No,
they all live here? No.
Not him.
Yeah, exactly.
Not him. He came over as a visitor, and this has always been a thing with the Sami community, is that the North American Sami community, we've always wanted to invite visitors in. So here we can see a few folks: Nathan Moose, Elin Binder, Marlene Viseri, who runs the Sami Cultural Center of North America. Tom Scheib, he's not Sami, but he was a reindeer. He owned reindeer in the Minneapolis area. Johan Mikael Sara, he must be a visitor, given how his name is spelled. Arden Johnson, whose dad is Rudy Johnson. They're from the Norwegian side. I forget their traditional name.
Where's this picture from? Do you know?
Oh, so this is Palo, or Minnesota.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's a Finnish town name.
Yeah.
Let's see. Here's some folks today. I should get rid of my calendar invite, but I don't know if I can't. Nope. I've got my schedule popping up on your video.
Yeah. Right.
So, yeah, Faith Fjeld, she started this Sami, North American Sami journal called Baiki. I was really brought into the community by Anya Kitti, who's, she's from, Faith is, I believe, she's from the Norwegian side. Anya was from, Kittila, in fact, it's a common name. Nathan and Marlene, this is Solveig Johnson, Arden's mom, who was a very accomplished artist. Mervi Salo, she lives in the Toronto area. So does Anya. Yeah, I love this photo. This is way back in 1995 when the community was first starting to organize.
Oh,
Yeah, Ailohash. Yeah.
Amazing.
Kurt Seberg, he's an amazing Sami American artist from Minneapolis whose work I adore. I often have prints, but I don't think I have any here from him. Yeah, I haven't met everyone here.
Oh.
So we'd gather every couple years just to convene and meet people and try to stay connected since the 1990s.
Oh, wow.
Let's see, his Faith's Journal. She passed in about 10 years ago now.
Oh.
Arden.
Yeah.
This is funny. This was at one of these Sida Stalans that was connected with the Finnfest organization. I believe this is Ellen Marie Jensen, who's in Kuavtakaitnu now, and this is the former president of Finland, Tarja Halonen.
Oh, is it? Oh, wow.
I'll just cut her off.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have cut off Ella Maria, but I was talking about Aran. Yeah, and people stayed connected through social media. Let's see. You know, some of this is more contemporary stuff. There's some really good poets too. Vivian Faith Prescott, she lives in Alaska, in Wrangell, Alaska. I love her work.
Yeah, she has so many nice.
Gary Anderson, he's in Portland. Ron Riecke, I haven't gotten to meet Ron in person yet, but he's in Michigan, I think, right now. Solveig Johnson, the artist. Kurt Seberg. Yeah, he would take these historic photos and do like pointillist art to recreate the historic images.
Okay.
Yeah. Mervi is wonderful. Talented both at traditional and contemporary stuff. Laurel, oh yeah. So she married an Anishinaabe man. So she was kind of in the community, and some of her art was Anishinaabe for her kids, right? But some of it was also Sami for her.
Oh, wow.
Tia, have you met her? Are you meeting her?
Tia. Yeah, I'd stay with her.
Yeah.
She's great.
He's an honorary one. He's Norwegian American and very shy, but
It's amazing work.
Yeah, he said he's explained that Norwegians have often made Sami silver, and he's honored to play that role and and support American Sami in that regard.
Yeah.
Some academics. Terry Martin and Ellen Marie Jensen, Sean Topcock, who's both Inuk and Sami.
Yeah, cool.
Troy Storfjell. Let's see. And then, but where are the Alaskan ones? I have to find those for you. And then we can wrap up. I'm sorry. Everything takes a long time.
Yeah, you're fine. We have been here 40 minutes.
I know, I said 10 minutes.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
To them, they're waiting. But
Yeah, here's a picture of Sheldon Jackson, the Department of the Bureau of Education advisor to the Department of Interior.
Let me look at the Inuits.
Yeah. This is just a photo I pulled to show that, traditionally they hunted caribou.
Yeah.
But the caribou were declining in numbers, so then they Chukchi would milk reindeer, and that was very important to Jackson because it was advancing up the ladder of social evolution.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah. So this is where the Teller Station is. This is one of the most important settlement areas for the Alaskan Sami. Yeah, and that's in Alaska.
Oh, that picture is in Alaska. Yeah, because I've seen that
Mm-hmm.
many places.
This is in Alaska.
Mm-hmm.
Here's Rasmus Anderson, the professor, and William Shellman was the person he hired, I believe, who lived in Stoughton, Wisconsin. There's an actual picture of Shellman there.
Yeah.
He was Norwegian and from Finnmark.
Okay. Okay.
Oh yeah, and Guavtakate, late 1800s. Several of the families were involved in the uprising. I mean, this is pretty close historically, so I think some people kind of wanted to get out of the community at that time,
Yeah.
is what I've heard.
It's different times.
Yeah, yeah. So, some families went over. Kemi, here we go. Samuel Kemi, Näkälä, Tornensis, Eero Näkälä, Rist, Tornensis Sombi. Yeah, Aslaksompi.
That's the people who left.
This is the first excursion in 1894.
Oh.
Yeah.
1994. Okay.
19. And they didn't have the reindeer on this first one. Isak Heata. This is later in 1914. On the ship that went over, the Bals
Cool.
family. Here's
That's
the route,
Oh.
approximately based on the arrows. These are just my drawings.
Okay.
So they started with 300 reindeer here. Then there were a couple other small reindeer populations around. Oh yeah, and then Jackson wanted to prioritize keeping reindeer really close to churches and schools.
Okay.
To bring the Inuit to him, because he wanted to create centers of economic prosperity so people would want to assimilate.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was his plan. The grand plan.
It's contested. if you ask some scholars, they say, no, he just wanted to help people.
Okay.
I'm not so sure.
Yeah.
But then, there's Sami were supposed to teach basic, reindeer herding and milking and the production of material culture items that you'd need. And then the government owned the reindeer. You could borrow them, about 100 reindeer for 3 to 5 years, and then you returned 100 reindeer, but you can keep whatever more reindeer there are. Yeah. So it's an idea. The plan was for growth, right?
Yeah. It wasn't a bad plan, I would say.
Right. Excuse the photo with the pejorative word in it, but I pulled it from a book.
Oh,
Teller Reindeer Station. Elin Sara with a little baby. Here's an Inuk man. These are the sleds that they preferred to use over there.
Okay. Yeah. And this one also?
Yeah, so they started with these, but then transitioned more and more to these, especially as they were delivering things. So there was the cultures came together. So here's here's a Sami and a Inupiaq man right here. And here's some objects that are few, Inuit just adopted some of these. These are all from museums in Alaska and were owned by Inuit because they learned how to make these things because they're practical to make. But there's some things like I told you about these boots. They're kind of between styles.
If you look at the previous picture, I have the exact same ones.
Do you?
I was wearing yesterday.
Okay.
The exact same
the same bit, yeah.
From Karasjok.
Nice. Yeah, there's a closer one of those boots.
Yeah.
Yeah, here's the Inupiaq version of shoe wear. And so the seams are kind of like that, and the tips, but then you've got different.
They kind of fusioned them. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, then the gold rush. Here's some photos from that. And then they were trying to bring this other party of reindeer up into that area.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, I've got so many pictures.
Oh yeah, you did have a lot of pictures.
Here's the Sami colony idea. 1897 is when they got more funding. Then it becomes under the Department of War. 70 more Sami would come. They'd bring 539 reindeer, 500 tons of lichen, 418 sleds, and 511 harnesses for all these. And they tried to put them on a boat, and they went across to Seattle, and then the boat got locked in the Pacific because of this war that broke out. And so Woodland Park Gate, yeah, here's the Sami herders with the reindeer stuck in Seattle, right up there.
Yeah.
10 days.
Crazy.
This is in Seattle in 1898. Yeah, a lot of people have been trying to work on this. I know Åke Solbach has published letters back home. There's a Finnish researcher, Varpu Lotvanen, who has been working with Alaskan Sami descendants to reclaim these stories. Yeah, this is the mission that tried to go up into towards the Yukon, and the rivers the weather changed on them, and the reindeer were stuck, and there were many dying reindeer. They tried to send 500 reindeer from here to here. 311 died. 43 were too weak to move. 185 were able to travel north to get to lichen beds. Let's see, it took them to get from here to here took them almost a year.
Oh wow.
of migration. Yeah.
That's
so
delicious.
Let's see. Yeah, here's Samuel Balto. There's a picture of him. Yeah, there's the famous Balto sled dog.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, he looked like a good dog. so
Yeah.
good.
Then this is the part my students like, what? Balto, the movie?
Yeah.
I have not seen it. Yeah, the reindeer are growing, so they're 350,000 reindeer by 1924, and then 600,000. And they're mixing in with wild caribou population. No one knows where they are even. It's become quite a mess.
Oh.
And then here's the Lohman family.
With the gold.
With all their gold, their precious gold.
Oh, wow.
Mayor, secretary to the district court, editor to the paper, city clerk and judge. Like,
oh, wow.
that photo is special.
Yeah, that's something. Else.
Right. And here's some of their marketing literature. America's New Health Meat. Grazing animals living on fresh, clean Arctic prairies. Here's Carl Lohman. I think he was running a lot of the operations of the company, but he didn't actually know how to do any of the herding work.
Oh, okay.
He was just pretended that he knew how, and he actually contracted with Isak Hätta to do the operations.
Okay.
Because he was really, really a talented herder, is what I understand.
Yeah, for the new health meat.
Mm-hmm.
In the country.
They're buying up reindeer.
Yeah.
Oh, and then here's the Christmas tangent. This is the one, 1821, is that first image that's ever been found of Santa with reindeer.
Yeah, okay.
Thomas Nast, who I told you about, the cartoonist. This is one of the first visual representations of Santa, the patriotic Santa.
Okay.
And there's reindeer way back there.
Yeah.
But there's not many. Here's another one of his images. I think all of these things are very specific to Civil War era things too. Like there's a sword. It coded very specifically for the day. Here's Toronto 1906 parade. Here's Santa here by the ladder. I don't know. I guess he's using a ladder for the chimneys. I don't know. And horses. And then here's at least some of the cities for the Lohman Company parade. I don't know which city this is. But someplace, sometimes you can see Sami in these photos, but not really. Oh, here's the aside about Amundsen. Hodon Sundblom, yeah, I remembered his first name wrong. But he developed this iconic Coca-Cola Santa image, which kind of stuck. He also drew drawings for Playboy magazine, which makes my students giggle. These are asides about actual Nordic Christmas traditions. We do see, like, the Swedish artist Jenny Nyström was using these sorts of images around the same time, but this is like very Holland. And they're kind of elfy in a way, but it's sort of a precursor to contemporary elf clothing and visual discourse, which vaguely correspond in certain elements to Sami traditional clothing, but obviously it's not that close, right?
No.
But the shoes are pretty distinct. Pointed shoes are only in a few places in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they wanted to establish him in Canada. So Anders Bear, I've got his diaries that were published in the Aanaar magazine. He took I think 3,000 reindeer to Canada, and this arduous journey, it took years. And eventually he was able to establish in the Northwest Territories a reindeer population there. Let's see. It took 2,007 days. I think, is that 6 years? 3,600 miles, 6,000 kilometers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and by the time he arrived, then he returned to Seattle because he had been living in Seattle, and his home had been foreclosed, and he got basically nothing for it. Aside.
What does foreclosed
mean? They took away his home.
Oh, did they?
Because he must have had debts on it.
Oh.
Yeah, there were all these problems that started happening. The Loman Company treated especially the Inuit very poorly, so Isak Heata quits the job in the 1930s, I think, in protest for how poorly people are being treated. And a lot of the system starts to crumble. This is from the 1930s. You see some Sami names in here, right? For sure. But then here's sort of the end of it. In 1937, the Reindeer Herding Bill buys the Loman Company and makes herding illegal for non-Alaskan natives. The Sami mostly ignored it at first because the law didn't reach them for many years, but then eventually had to leave the industry.
Okay.
And then a lot end up in Seattle being fishermen. Yeah, like Paulsbo, where you just were.
Yeah, I just visited there.
Yeah, there's oral history projects and stuff on this online too, and this Project Jukebox. You can hear from some of these families that went through. They're just long, unedited interviews. Yeah, here's some folks today. Pearl Johnson, Lois Stover, Vivian. That's I think that's Pearl right there. Oh, and then there was this burial there. One of the Sami families that moved to Seattle, and I think she got tuberculosis and passed. And then the Smithsonian Institute collected her remains, and only 2 years ago they were returned. And Smithsonian has, unfortunately, like lots of institutions, they have human remains, and there's policies for the Smithsonian Institute is supposed to pay for the return and reburial of indigenous remains. But since she was not indigenous to North America, people had to crowdsource on like Kickstarter and fundraise to have her remains returned to the Seattle area, and then she was just given a proper burial 2 years ago. But
2 years ago.
2 or 3 years ago, she was treated like a trophy. It was horrific, but at least she's returned.
Yeah.
A lot of family there paying respects. So, yeah, We already talked about this stuff. So
Wow, amazing. Thank you
anyway,
so much, Tim.
a short little blurb for you.
Yeah, shortly a blurb. Yeah.
And if you do want to, I mean, there's a couple books that are really worth paying attention to, because I'm just summarizing the things that other people have done.
Yeah.
Those are the letters right there, and then this is sort of a classic one that was written about it, but it's not written very much from a Sami perspective. But there's a lot of really good information in there as well.
I read this I didn't read the whole thing, but
Yeah.
I read this in Norwegian.
Oh yeah. Well,
So
that
this
would
is
make a
the
lot of
story
sense.
with the Santa Claus, I think, is in here.
Part of it's in there. Yeah.
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 Part of it.
Part
Okay.
of it. The rest I've figured out myself.
Yeah. Do you have any other books in English about Samis to recommend? Yeah, you have so many.
There's so
Are all of
many.
these in English or?
These, no.
No.
Some are. I can't remember what's in English anymore. I mean, there's good translations of Johan Turi's work
Yeah.
now.
Okay. It's actually.
Oh,
These are.
Sorry,
translated.
this is side by side. Yeah, this one's translated.
Yeah. Okay.
And this is an older translation of his work. I thought I had
English texts. Yeah.
I thought I had the third one someplace on here. What else is in English? You got Barbara's work here.
Yeah.
This is a very interesting work if you haven't seen that.
Okay.
About the 1700s. I've got Veli-Pekka, who was my teacher. This is a classic now. It's older, but doesn't
Yeah.
have anything after 2000. But
I've seen that as well.
yeah, he's my teacher. He came to Minneapolis a few years ago. For Sami American history, Alamaria, her book right there. It's a classic.
Yeah.
Some interviews, among other things.
Very nice. Well, thank you so
Yeah.
much. Thank you so much for your time.
Yes. Thanks for listening.